Alright, let's do some animated water. I've made a little scene here where we're a little friend just moving back and forth, but there's no water to be had. So, let's do it now, shall we? On the object, or the plane, that I've created here, I already have the shader window open up in the corner. Using Node Wrangler, I'm going to do Control T on the shader, and we have our image texture here. We don't need this right now, so I'm just going to delete this. Shift A, search for a wave texture. Attach that here into the vector, and I'm going to view it using the Node Wrangler shortcut, Control Shift, and I'm going to click on the wave texture while holding Control Shift. This is what our current wave looks like. Not really much of a wave, is it? Let's tweak some settings here. We could probably distort it slightly like this. We can play with the scale a little bit later. The roughness of this. I kind of want mine to be a little bit stylized, so I'm going to lower this detail roughness. I'm going to look at the wave offset. So if we do this, it looks like we could use this as a means to animate. Or we can go here. I'm just going to switch from point to texture. We could probably use the X location here. We can have this moving in conjunction with this. Both positive values. So let me pause this. Bring this back to 0. How do we do that? Well, we can key anything in Blender by hovering over it and hitting I. I'm just going to hold 0 this out and 0 this out. On this, I'll click I, I'll turn green, which means that I've keyed everything here. I'm going to go over to this object here, and this node, the wave texture, hit I on face offset. Now I've keyed it. I'm just going to hide this window or connect it to show you what this thing on the bottom is. Or the top now. So, all the crosshairs, when you go up to the window here, you click, drag it down. I'm going to navigate towards the editor. In the editor type, I'm going to go towards the graph editor. There's nothing here. If I click this, there's nothing here. I actually have to go inside the material itself and click on any of the nodes here. You can see now, within the shader node tree, these values, we can play around with them. I'm going to click on the X value, because that's the one we determined that needs to be keyed. I'm going to head over to modifiers, add modifier, and I'm going to use, I think it was generator. And what's going to happen with the generator is it's just going to infinitely go up. It's easier to do this way. The reason why I'm doing this way is because I can tweak fine-tune the values, as opposed to going in here and keying like something down here to like an arbitrary value. This one will just constantly go at the same rate. Now we can see that it's a little funky, a little too fast. So we can go to the influence and we can drag this down. You can see how using this we can drag. We can also play around with this value. So if I had this at 1, say 0.01, 0.01. Sorry, I did it again. And we can like fine tune it this way here. A little bit less like that. That's looking kind of nice. Now the cool thing about this is I can go up here and use this to copy the modifier, click onto the wave texture, and this is the only thing keyed, so make sure we just click on this and we can paste this. And now they're moving at the same rate. If we move the influence up like this, you can kind of see it slowly taking effect. We can make it more drastic so you can see what's happened like that. That's looking pretty cool. We go 0.5 just to see a bit more. That might be too fast. It's also going reverse from what the water was, and the water direction of X. We can either change this to a negative, or we can go back here and change this to a negative. It's very simple. All I have to do is just go negative 0.001. And that looks like it's making a little bit more sense, except it's going kind of fast. So we, again, try and fine tune this slightly until we find something we enjoy. And I kind of like that. So now we can attach this material to the base color and play around with this. Or what we actually have to do is we can use a mix RGB, and connect the color to the factor so that we could now manipulate these two. So let's say if I put this back to here, and I can change this color to something like this, and change this to something that kind of complements this. Let's see, kind of like that. So that's looking pretty cool. But we can have a little bit more fun with this. Since we want to like break up the shape a bit more, or I want to break up the shape a bit more, I can add in another mix RGB and attach this into here, bring this into here, and now I can attach a different kind of mask on here to try and break up the shape. I'm kind of thinking of adding a noise mask, but you might have something else in mind. I would just advise to attach whatever you think would look good as a mask. So I'm going to attach the mask. This is what it kind of looks like now. We can finesse this a little bit more. We can scale this up. Let's change the roughness here. It's a little bit blurry. So there are two nodes you can add, a color ramp or a mapping. I'm used to using this because it makes sense to me, where I can start doing things like this. And I'm just looking within the white areas. That's where the waves are gonna pop through. So let's say like that for now. And I'm gonna attach this into the factor. And now if we take a look at what's happening here, you can see nothing's happening underneath here. And it's just the color of the factor. So we want these to be the same color underneath. So I'm just gonna use the color picker and pick this. You can see the shapes being broken slightly. We can like finesse this a bit more, and this is looking a lot better, I think. Some nice broken shapes here, and we could also attach, since these properties are animated, I can actually attach the vector down here, and the whole thing will move together as a shape. You can see like this. So it just gives it a little bit more character this way. I think that's looking pretty cool. And let's just finesse the shapes a bit more. I think our fella's really happy now that there's moving water here. For final finishing touches, you can play around with the specularity. Like you can see how shiny it is here. You can play with the roughness, just have a bit more sheen here. You could attach one of these into the roughness here. So let's say if I want to attach this so that the roughness is only within the white spots, I'll just show you what I mean. Let's attach the factor into the roughness. And now you can see it has like these nice little odd wave specularities to it. If you wanted to match what we have here as a final output, we could attach that instead to the roughness. And you should get, you can see like in certain spots it's not as shiny, and that's because of this mask here. We can also take a look at what the mask is doing. So it's only these two colors. The roughness tends to like to take black and white, but since this is blue, it's transferring this into a grayscale image, and these values are kind of similar, so the effect isn't as drastic. If you want the effect to be more drastic, we can add in a color ramp into the roughness. So now it looks like this. We can manipulate the roughness like this. So when we look at it now, we're fully shaded. You can see that it's the way the water is. It's kind of like distorting within the wavy areas. And that actually looks really awesome. I'm happy to how that came out. Alright, so that was just a mini short tutorial on trying to get an animated water. Hopefully you learned a bit of like how to manipulate the nodes here, and it gives you some sort of workflow that you can take into your own work. Alright, thank you.